Ah, I love doing that, huh? That just feels so good. All right, K340s from AKG. Now, these headphones. Boy, do I have a lot to say about these. I have a lot to say about these. So, these headphones are old. They're also a cult followed classic. People love this headphone. People love this headphone. Now, for good reason. Good reason. So let's switch scenes. F3. So this headphone is audiophile grade bullshit. Okay, I mean it's not bullshit. Wait, hold up. Let me rephrase that. I can't. It really is bullshit because it's like, bro, these should not exist. There's no way that we had this good sound back then. Like, I'm always blown away. From electrostatic stacks to electrostatic dynamic, okay? Like, combination. I can't get over that. So, there is, like I just said, an electrostatic driver in here alongside a dynamic driver. We have a dynamic driver that takes care of all the frequencies under or around 250 hertz, or well, under that as up to, okay, under and up to. And then we have the rest of everything being taken care of by the electrostatic driver. Now, whatever they did to be able to have that happen through that makes me I just laugh. That's just crazy. I love AKG, huh? I think this was the first headphone to ever do something like this. So, don't quote me. Might be wrong there. The build. Let's talk about the build. So, it is no different than any AKG, huh? It literally looks the same, but there's a few things here. So if we take a look at a classic K240, this is just the M220. It's a K240, okay? If we look at it, these things are super duper, flexible. They're very, very linear clamp. It's got this suspended head strap design that uses these like a little elastic. You can kind of see that maybe right there. You see those little elastics, okay? So there's a little elastics there to have auto suspension and all that kind of cool stuff, okay? And then the cups are pretty big, but the drivers are pretty small, actually. In comparison, they're pretty small. And then, yeah, it's a K240. You've seen this design everywhere, basically. From Super Lux to a bunch of other off-brands. Now, when we look at AKG's K340, because like the reason why I took out the K240 is because this is a part of the Sextet lineup. Like, you had this, and then you had the Sextets, and you had a bunch of other headphones that like were worth or not worth buying. I'm not too sure. But when we take a look at the K340, it looks completely different. And if I recall, this is closed back. Closed back. Keep that in mind when we talk about soundstage, okay? Closed back. So, the padding, let me just make this clear. Everybody says to get different pads, and I agree. The normal pads on these are weird, but the sound with normal pads, they work. They're perfectly fine. There's actually there's no issue. It's honestly just down to comfort and preference because of that. So if you do want to get these headphones, just be aware that the stock pads that are on like every K240 ever is also on the 340. So that's a comfort thing. The head strap is also designed the same way as a K240, which is what I love. So it's got the suspension, but this time the elastics are on the inside right over there. And then there's a little piece of plastic here, and that plastic has a part where it like locks it in place. As you can see, it doesn't extend more. So you wouldn't believe how much more premium that is. That's wonderful. So they only extend so much. When you pull this out, it locks. So that's good. That allows the elastic or the elasticity of the elastics in there to hold their ground a little longer before they've stretched, enough times for it to lose its mechanical efficiency, and then you have to replace it, right? So that's cool. Cool. Full plastic design. I think the only things that are metal in here is like the driver and then this little accent here that spins around. It's not really staying in place. Everything's plastic though. Okay. And then the head strap. Head strap is like I think it might be air. There might be air on the inside here. You can see that. That could be air. It could be whatever. But if I feel it, it feels fluid based. So air, not water. Highly not. I bet it's not water. But it's soft. It's the one thing I can't get over. Because when we look at the sextets I have, okay, the head strap's already deteriorating. It's breaking apart. And you can tell when it's breaking apart because it gets stiff. And when it gets stiff, it just holds its place. And you end up with those over there, the ones that are on a stand. That's my original K340 Studios. And it's like hard as like when you can literally use it as a snare drum. Okay, it's pretty stiff now. So this is the one thing that survived the time, and I just couldn't get over that. I know we're talking about build still, huh? For 6 minutes. What about the sound? Sound. These are one of the fastest headphones I've owned for the time and era. Okay, is it faster than a T1? Debatable, because there's an electrostatic driver in here, right? But the thing is, let me make this very clear. Okay, just like what happened with the stacks, I don't want to be, oh, there you go, yeah. I don't want to look at it in that kind of light, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, like cult followed headphones, audiophile, like classic favorite, but it's not, it's not good or bad, it's just, I don't know how to say it, man. Like, let's start with the bass. It's good. It's good. Because that driver only cares about 250 hertz and below, or so, right? 200, 250 hertz and below. It's doing its job. And it's clean. And because it's closed back, sub bass. Like, guys, you don't know how much we've been wanting that, okay? Like, even the modern K340s. I don't know about the MK2s, okay? Modern K340s, the Studios, the M220s, and I think there's also another version that came out. Yeah, it's like gray. Forgot the model, but there's no bass. There's bass, but there's no bass. For something so old, there's bass. That's good. So, got that out of the way, right? When we get into the high bass, like the mid bass, it sadly it bleeds into the beautiful mid range that's on this. So genre dependent. Okay, you may or may not have fun with these, and there seems to be this is the mixed feelings about it. There's like a sheen or something that happens depending on the kind of like mix of the song. So just be cautious that you may not like how it transitions, because since we're using two drivers on this, you have to now consider it like a stereo system at home. You'd have a sub that takes care of the low end, and then you have the tweeters and whatever, okay, speakers, whatever you're using, that are taking care of the other frequencies as well. But the thing is that sub transitioning into the speakers are done by, like, one of the ones that I know of is just like, oh my god, it's like crossover and stuff that's like built into the amp that you're using a receiver. So the crossover, in a sense, on this is not the cleanest, okay? And that could be because it's enclosed. That could be because electrostatic driver, right? You put the fastest driver with something that is basically the slowest. What are you gonna expect? But all in all, besides the bleed, once we start to talk about how darker this headphone is, you begin to also understand maybe that, yeah, this is audiophile level stuff. Like, this is not a headphone you use for reference listening, for mixing and mastering. This is something you use after the master to enjoy the song, because those highs are like, they're there. They're there. But it is not crazy shouty like a K340 sextet. In the mid-range is not crazy intimate. like a monitor. The K240 monitors at 600 ohms. It's not the same. So they're spacious. That's something I can't get over. I don't know if it's because of the cup design, but these things are spacious, even with the default pads. And then when we're using these, just like the DFs, my guy, if you remember, if you've watched the K240 DF video I made, I talked about how a driver is capable of being able to hold detail even when it's been spaciously expanded, which has happened to the K340s here that I have. I do have wider leather pads, and the driver's capable of mid-range detail and holding onto it, even though it's been distanced. So it's a very wide headphone. It's a wide headphone. And not only that, it is a dynamic headphone. And I mean not by the driver, I mean by just where things are. The accuracy on this is pretty good. You don't get lost, even though it's kind of wide and not what you're used to if you listen to a bunch of K240s. And it's heavy. I think that's something I can't get over. Sadly, that has nothing to do with sound, but it's a heavy headphone. And that's not even including the weight of the pads. It's just in general, it's heavy. So, yeah, that's it, okay? We got pastrami spaghetti cable that's like twirled up, and then we have the guy from Ontario, because that was the thing I like. I forgot the seller's name, but thanks so much for selling this to me. He redid the cable, and I was happy. So, you know how it is. We're going to down do the sound thing. Well, it's the new format. Plugged into the Modi 3 Magni 3. This time we are on high gain, because 400 ohms. 400! So there's only like a few headphones I'm aware of that have like the 4 in front. That would be like Audio-Technica 5000X. Those things are at 420 ohms, so this is 400 ohms. Now, you can maybe believe a majority of the reason why that is because the electrostatic driver is a little easier to drive, maybe, and then the dynamic driver doesn't have to be so detailed, so they can use something that can be easier to drive in general as well. So that could be why there's less ohms. It doesn't mean that it's more efficient, because just know this is on high gain, okay? And we're at like past 3 o'clock on the Magni 3, and like vintage DT990 over here didn't have to go that far, even with the velour pads. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, let's put these on. But of course, you know how it is. We're gonna listen to the reference first. It's going to be it's the same song. We don't change, okay? We're not gonna change the song. It's A Night Alone by Track Tribe, but it's gonna be the HD 600 first. All right, so listen to the HD 600 recording, and then we'll switch over to the K340. Okay, and now we're going to unmute the ears and then take a listen to the K340. There was a sigh there. You didn't hear it. So, K340. All right. Like, I think I didn't really do that good of a... I didn't really describe the sound so well. That's kind of what I've noticed about these reviews. Now it's just been more of like a history lesson and build quality. But like, honestly, the sound, what else is there to say? For the time, a closed back that's spacious, you're speaking on the lines of like Beyerdynamic DT770. For a headphone that is easier to drive than a sextet, like, remember this. There's going to be a video that's coming out that I did a comparison between the K240, the K241, and the K240DF. And even if I had all those headphones, okay, with like default pads, even if I did, I know this for a fact, the Magni 3 has to be maxed out on high gain. So, relatively speaking, these are a little more efficient. Even with that pad that is distancing the driver. That's ridiculous. So, how do I feel about K340? Well, it definitely does deserve its cult following. It definitely is a headphone that is worth owning and listening to. But K340 just solidifies the reason why, no matter how old a headphone is, you still can extract good levels of detail. I love it. I love this headphone a lot. And I think that the listening experience that I have, especially since owning so many headphones lately, which I've been blessed to have the opportunity to do so. Once I was able to get my hands on K340, it definitely just made me feel like, yeah, there's a bunch of sound signatures out there that I can't get over. And there's some that are unforgettable. And I think that K340 sound signature is definitely a memorable one at that. So, again, I tried to keep this as a... I tried to keep this like as objective as possible, but I mean, I can't really do that, can I? I mean, even, again, to here's YouTube compression, all that kind of stuff, it'll sound horrible. But at least the sound is out there, and that's all I care about. And I'm happy that I could share the sound of these with you. Man, I can't get over that, man. Made in Austria. They don't make them like they used to. So, electrostat dynamic hybrid headphone. If you can get these, buy it. That's all you gotta know.